there anybody that wants to speak to something that is not an agenda item? Nobody raise their hand.
Let me double check the list here. I have received it again. I have to check the public speakers that are on Zoom. Just. You may carry on.
Approval of minutes.
Make a motion to approve that.
Second. Teresa. That proposal been second, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, discuss and consider recommendation to town council regarding a waiver from chapter 10 subdivision regulations, exhibit A, development ordinance, chapter 3, subdivision design standards, section 3.5, lots, subsection B, to allow for the maintenance of flag lot on a regularly shaped tract of land being described as tract 19D in the M. Tucker Survey, abstract 1255. Unrecorded plat, town of Martinville, Denton County, Texas. The property to be considered for the waiver is 11.34 acre tract of land located in Seals Road, in Martinville, Texas. Do we need to postpone this or deny it?
Mr. Chair, I would recommend postponing it because the same item was postponed at the BOA meeting that just preceded this meeting to September 2nd. So I would recommend for notice purposes to go ahead and postpone this, and therefore you don't have to renotice.
Okay. Do we need to make a motion to postpone until after they settle their legal?
The community code, the board adjustment was limited to September 2nd, 2020.
Is that after our PZ meeting?
That's the same date as your PZ meeting.
I move we postpone item number 1 until September the 2nd.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Discuss and consider recommendations to town council regarding a request for lots 2R1 and 2R2 of replat lot number 2, block C, Barrington Hills, phase 2 addition, town of Martinville, Denton County, Texas, known as plat number 2016.49 to be vacated, and a previous plat recorded in cabinet W 843 and 44 be the effective plat of the subject property. The subject property is commonly known as 875 Porter Road. So this is separate from what else, well, we're just putting those two plats back together. So is that public good?
No.
It's the, what's the, that's on?
Order.
On Porter Road. There's a little house there, and there's a barn behind it, and then there's another barn down farther, and there's a big, deep pet full of horses there. Yeah. You know what's that? Yeah. Well, they separated that into two different lots. I guess owned by the same people in the same family. And somebody else, the people that are in there now have bought it. This is just to put the two lots back together and make one lot.
Yeah. Make a motion that we accept.
So,
I recommend that we, item number 2,
Use your speaker.
on that. I recommend that we accept item number 2 regarding the request for lots 2R1 and 2R2 of replat lot 2.
Second.
For a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Number 3, public hearing to hear public comment, consider recommendations to town council regarding an ordinance amending town of Hartsville Code of Ordinances, chapter 14, exhibit A, title 14.02, ordinance 361-5, the zoning regulations for the town of Hartsville by amending division 1, general requirements, chapter 2, definitions, section 2.2, amending the subsection schools private, school public, and amending appendix C, land use table, by amending schools public, kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, and high school by adding preschool. This is a public hearing. We'll open the public hearing at 7:57.
You want the staff report first? You want the staff report first?
Does it make a difference? Okay, staff report.
I'm used to doing this, but I'm sorry.
The town has recently received some inquiries and questions regarding school operations. It was found that preschools are currently not included in the school or private school definition within our code. Also, preschools are currently not included in the land use table as a public school use designation. So this item will add preschool to both the definitions and the land use table.
Okay, we'll open the public hearing at 7:58. Anybody to speak for? Anybody to speak against? I'll close the public hearing at 7:59.
Question. Is there a difference between preschool and pre-K? Because if there is, we need both of them.
When I was reviewing the standards between preschool and kindergarten, it was children between the ages of 3 and 5. I couldn't find a definite difference between the two. So either or when I was looking at differences and under the Texas Human Resources Code, children between the ages of 3 and 5 in this establishment, how we have the definition, aren't under daycares. So the way we have it are in an education setting that are, again, children between the ages of 5 in an establishment with weekday education. So I thought that would consider both. Barry, do you have any information on that? I know Jennifer had.
Yeah.
I
I wasn't part of the wording for the amendment that I agree with Amy. I don't think there's a need for a separate pre-K. Preschool will cover that.
Is that right? Does anybody have a problem with that?
Ed, is that something, can we add that with that, since it's not noticed, or would it be?
I'm sorry, you're gonna have to repeat it so I can hear it better. I'm sorry.
The wording is adding preschool, and Gloria asked if there's a difference with pre-K. And Barry, we feel that the definition covers both. There's not a difference between preschool and pre-K. Should we, do we need to come back and add pre-kindergarten? The way that it's defined, it should cover both.
Well, preschool is what we found to cover ages prior to kindergarten.
Okay.
So is there a definition for pre-K that someone has?
There's not one that I can find.
All right, is there a feeling that this won't cover us?
That's what we were asking you.
I think preschool is the usual and understood term for someone who's not going to kindergarten or first grade. And then prior to preschool would be daycare.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, it does. a little concerned until you said there was daycare, that this definition could be used, but really it being a babysitting place.
And that's not what the preschool is.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. You might want to turn up the volume when, Board of Adjustments was going on, that thing was buzzing so loud that I turned the main volume down. I don't know if that is affecting why Zoom people can't hear as well or not. Oh, it isn't. Never mind.
Thank you.
No, I can hear okay. If there's a mic, if y'all are using your microphones, that works.
What action do we need to take on this?
Make recommendations to the town council. Use your microphone.
We need to make the recommendation to town council to approve these definitions.
Make a motion, town council to approve, item number 3, you have changed the definitions regarding preschool.
Second. Second.
Oh. All in favor?
Aye.
Ralph's not used to that.
Okay, for the public hearing to hear public comment, consider a recommendation to the town council regarding an ordinance amending the town of Bartonville Code of Ordinances, Chapter 14, Exhibit A, Article 14.02, Ordinance 361.05, zoning regulations by amending Chapter 7, Article 7.2, uses permitted for the town of Bartonville by granting a conditional use permit to allow for the operation of an equestrian center and animal assisted therapy located at 875 Porter Road, Bartonville, Texas. The property to be considered for the conditional use permit is zoned residential estates RE2 with equestrian center and animal assisted therapy as permitted uses by conditional use permit only.
So Siobhan's on Zoom and I'm here to speak as well. So I don't know if you want me to go to the podium or if we can hear Siobhan.
Yes, come up.
Okay.
Chloe and I have heard it, but
Yeah.
Present.
And Siobhan is on Zoom as well.
So Siobhan, can you hear me? I don't know if she can hear me.
And,
Siobhan?
Yes.
Okay, there you are. We're up.
you need to state your name.
I'm Shelley Peters, and I'm here on behalf of Forest Life, which is 875 Porter Road in Bartonville. We purchased the property in November, and we run a small eventing farm. And we are requesting a covered arena to basically get us out of the sun for our existing clients, but also to expand and be able to have helping in horseback and therapeutic riding at Forest Life Farms. When we looked at where the arena would go, we made a conscious decision or a conscious effort to use the natural landscape and screen with trees. The arena will match the same, color and material as our existing barracks. Putting in the arena will be a sand and rubber mix with a watering system to keep dust down. We will have lights. The lights will go off at 9 every night. Someone has questions. Or Siobhan, if you have anything to add.
Staff presentation.
The applicant, Siobhan O'Brien, with Primary Ventures, is requesting the CUP to allow for the operation of the equestrian center and animal assisted therapy. This will include the construction of a covered arena over the equestrian facility that already exists on the property. That's it.
Then we'll open the public hearing at 8:08. Anyone to speak in favor? Anyone to speak in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, then we'll close the public hearing at 8:08. Questions? Except for the covered arena, everything is already in place.
For a CUP. There is an existing CUP on this
No,
property?
no. There's not a CUP on the top. I don't think
But
so.
we have to put them.
Right.
Yeah. A good start has actually been submitted by the applicant, which there's not a page number on here. But I think some of the things we look for immediately are, it starts with soil in the arena being watered, the lighting that she addressed, no amplified sound she addressed, setback requirements addressed. The driveway, which what happened to you?
Oh, I'm right here. You don't need that.
Oh, you might want to share with them what you're doing with the driveway and the line.
Okay.
Because you're moving that.
Yeah, so the one thing it will change is the driveway, but it won't change how our current comments come in. We're just gonna move the driveway.
And that meets the fire department standards.
Yes, that's correct.
So do we have the fire department? Anything from them approving that?
Siobhan, have we had the fire department approve our new driveway?
We have verbally discussed with them what it is. I don't know that I have an approval process or sheet, but they understand as long as the truck can get around, which it can.
We'll need something from the fire department.
Okay.
I mean, to indicate that they're
But they
comfortable
can,
with it.
right.
Anything else?
So just so I understand, we can get a letter from the fire department that says, yes, this access is acceptable.
Yeah, that's good to have, Rob.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Is this going to be an event? Is this going to be for events where you have basically writing events or
Shows, no.
or shows?
No. It'll just be for our existing client base and the therapy riding.
Okay. I just didn't see kind of where the parking and stuff. would be.
No, we don't plan on doing any more shows.
Okay. Okay.
We're definitely not set up for that.
Well, we might want to add that since that's what you're planning on doing with the CUP.
Right.
So the-
Anything else?
I don't have anything else other than we need to get this. I think that the ones that are on there, the only thing that would need to be added, and I don't know if it needs to go into the CUP or if that doesn't is providing in writing that the road meets the fire safety, fire departments.
We can approve it. We can recommend it to council
Conditions.
conditional upon, fire department's letter or whatever indicating that the road is up to their standards, being able to get in and out.
And then the last one would be, that the CUP covers their existing base and their therapy clients not to be expanded from that into the CUP. These guys. I'm just gonna leave that off. Right now, it's wide open. So by putting this in the CUP, then if these guys decide to move to Montana, we still have a CUP that covers what the plan uses for this land.
Right.
You have a comment about that, Mayor?
Yeah, the Vice Chairman's right, that in the draft ordinance on page 1, section 1, CUP granted, that gives you an opportunity to put whatever conditions that you want to be specifically included in the CUP. We had the presentation at the, Development Review Committee last week. They had a listing of several items on here, and so, and that's what, I reiterated in my summary page. And any of those that you feel are important, you need to go ahead and include in your motion to say, subject to these conditions. Including the attachment of the site plan as well to go with that.
I would agree with Barry there. Yes.
There may be some things that the city regulations, like the fire, I don't think that has to be specifically included in the conditions because that's part of your approval process.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just need the fire department to get them out. Things are up to par.
But if you're concerned about possibly expanding, equestrian operations there beyond just the therapy, you need to specifically put that in CUP.
Okay, but you do understand besides the therapy.
We let on the therapy.
You do other stuff besides the
Yes,
therapy.
we have it, so that we're a private training barn, so similar to Gold Chip Stable, just next door.
I think the only thing that there is to put in that they're not any horse shows.
Right, which is exactly,
Yeah, we're not adding any barns or stalls, just the cover arena. Yeah.
So,
I'm looking at the procedure.
well, I agree. But just that they're not having horse shows, but if we put it just, that it's just for therapy, then they can't do.
No, I didn't suggest that. They have existing clients that they are bringing in for training now, and I don't think that's a big issue either, but we can probably cover the whole thing by stating no shows, no outside shows, or, where you have 500 people coming in. The only tenuous issue on that property has nothing to do with them. It's the issue of them sitting on top of that hill, which is the tickets to have 500 people trip.
Yeah.
That's all. However you want to deal with it.
So we need to add into the conditional use that they will not be having horse shows.
Yes, you can add that. You can add that.
Okay. Anything else that we need to add to it?
In addition to those recommendations that's in Barry's report
Yes.
on page 31.
Y'all are already in operation. How much of your
traffic or whatever it is, therapy, type stuff as opposed to people coming in for
Right
training.
now, we don't have the therapy program because we don't have the cover unit. So we met Tom Gotsky when we were at, Flower Mountain Farm. Sean and I both worked there and we met him and had a relationship with him. He came over and visited our facility and said, if you guys can do this, we can partner and do this together. So we don't have the therapy right now. We have the horses to do the therapy and we have Tom who runs the program, but they're not coming to our farm currently. So they don't come with horse trailers or, it's just like another client that you come with a car, and the family, and we work with the family with the horses. And then the equine assisted therapy would be not on horseback. It would just be on the ground working with the horse and the client.
Seems to me like it's a really good use of land that has little impact on people around it and does really good things.
We tried, and I think being there for a little while, being able to see a good place for it to be, where it doesn't obstruct it when you do work and goes to the barn, so hopefully it'll work.
So how should we be wording this?
I really couldn't hear all of it, I'm sorry.
How should we be wording the motion?
I would start just by moving, if your idea is to approve it, then I would move to approve and then state the conditions that you're adding to the property, either from Barry's list or what you've been talking about tonight.
Move to approve with the following stipulations, CUP. Arena will exceed the minimum 50-foot rear, will exceed the minimum 50-foot rear setback and 20-foot side yard setback. The eastern portion of the existing gravel loop drive will be relocated to the east of the new covered arena. Driveway reconfiguration will continue to meet the turn radius for fire drive. Does that cover it enough that we don't have to say, give it to us in writing? Does it? Okay. Soil in the arena will be kept in a dust-free condition. LED lights in the arena will be directed downward and cease before 9 p.m. No amplified sound will be installed in the arena. And final, no horse shows.
In the first line, it says arena will exceed. Do you mean the arena will not exceed the minimum 50-foot setback?
I didn't put that in there, meaning it will be no less than 50 feet.
Okay. And then did you want to add the attached site plan?
I want to add the, no horse shows that bring outside people in to participate. Other than the people who come that meet the needs of the owners of the land with their horse operations.
And did you want to include the site plan?
What?
And the site plan?
Yes, please attach the site plan to it.
The site plan submitted by the applicant today. The dated is there a date on it?
This one is distributed, doesn't show the relocated drive.
Oh,
So you'll need that, before it gets to council, you'll need
A new site plan with
that
the-
corrected
a corrected site plan.
and the blessing of
The fire department.
the party. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item, public hearing to hear public comment and consider recommendations to the town council regarding a site plan for First Church Nazarene / Lantana Community Church, Harvest Christian Academy being all of the tract of land being described as Kincaid, Lot 2R, Lot A, Town of Barnville, Denton County, Texas. The property is generally described as 10.09 acre tract of land located on the north side of East Jeter Road, more commonly known as 2200 East Jeter Road, Barnville, Texas. Applicant.
Is that me? I want to thank everybody for letting us speak to this. We've enjoyed a good relationship with Bartonville. Yes, ma'am. My name is Calvary Callender, I should say, and I'm a pastor at the Timothy Church in Road. And I was saying we've enjoyed a good relationship, I think, and we have like the town cleanup is going to be happening soon, I think in August. We do the Easter egg hunt every year for our community. And Christmas tree walk, we want to be good members and good, I guess, contributing to our community. So we met with the DRC, is that right? Development? Yeah, okay, we'll make sure I'm saying things right. And at that meeting, there were 3 items that came up. And now in all of this, I am not a one-man show. I have people helping me get to all the information and gather things up. So I'm gonna, if it's okay with you guys, have them help me here. But one of the things was the traffic, and we were asked to come up with a better design for the traffic flow in our parking lot so that we can avoid congestion in the streets. And we have done that. We actually emailed that to Tammy. I think it was too late to make it into the packet that you have, but we do have a physical copy that we can pass so you can see if you like. I think we have a couple of them on the back.
I can make copies, my apologies.
Oh, no, it's okay. Just to know that we have it, and we have a copy here that we can.
It's updated from this one, that's in the packet.
Yes.
So it's this chart.
Yes.
It's updated from that. It has the little cards on it.
We were asked to show how we can stack the cars.
So it's something more than this is.
Yes.
Yes.
The ability to stack the cars using 20 feet as length to stack them, and how many cars we could get in the parking lot. And Leslie, Tina has done all the work on that, so I'm gonna let her speak to that.
Hi, my name is Tina Mitchell, and I work with Harvest Christian Academy, so the school side. So carpool drop off and pick up is something I've worked with for the last 26 years. And we have adjusted our map here. It was stated at the, what's the meeting? The DRC meeting, that the goal for our campus is for there to be no cars on the roadway, for them to all be stacked within our parking lot. And when you look at the map, even the one that y'all have, it shows that they have like 185 parking spaces, and we're required to have like 39, there. We have a stack map that she's making a copy of that shows how we can fit 52 cars sitting in line for carpool pickup as double lines with that. We can actually make a triple line for another holding space, and we can put another 12 on that. It's not on this particular map, but we just know we can do overflow.
I did email those to you.
Oh, good, okay. It still is very much similar to the original traffic can that you have there, but without the little cars on it. So there's the little cars. It still is a basic view, but it's a double wide line now, taking 2 lanes going in and then a single lane for exit. If they need to use 2 lanes, there's another one that they can do that with. And this will stack in 52 cars here. Now, another thing that we have discussed since the last meeting was that we have a staggered start time for the kids. And so the older ones, their start time for the school day is 8:10, and the younger ones, their start time for the school day is 8:30. So no one is actually arriving for a start time at the same time. In pickup, there's 3 pickup times, and one is at 1 o'clock for the littlest ones, or 1 o'clock, o'clock. And then 3:30 is, the bulk of the elementary students would be at 3:30. And then the older kids are staying after for sports, cheerleading, drama club, all that kind of good stuff. So then they're picked up all through the course of the evening. So the question on here was estimate the number of daily vehicles during the AM drop-off. And they gave the time of 8:10 to 8:30. Since class, 8 o'clock to 8:30. Since class starts at 8:10, it would be more like a 7:30 start drop on that. So within an hour, we have about 50 to 60 cars come through within an hour time frame for morning drop. It's kind of a big window. And then afternoon pickup, about 20 at 1 o'clock would pick up, and about another 30 or 40 would pick up at 3:30, and then the rest just goes on and on and on until kids finish with play practice and everything. Additional alternative drop-off area if needed, and that would be, we can manipulate the parking lot itself if we need to, where we can adjust where they're actually getting into the car. So if we need to move those little cones down further, we can adjust by moving the cones down further as well. So the actual load zone can float depending on, how it goes. I think I mentioned the first 2 weeks of school, every single parent wants to drive their child to school. And after the first 2 weeks, they will never drop their own child off at school again. So the first 2 weeks are not a great judge exactly of how the rest of the world will go. But also within that first 2 weeks, a lot of those mommies and daddies want to actually walk them to the door of their classroom. So they're not all necessarily sitting in perfect line, but there will be a little more traffic the first 2 weeks of school. Still, the goal is to keep it all in the parking lot. And let's see the other things that you were. Oh, so that asks about the consideration for requiring that all families enter from Jeter Road going eastbound toward 407 instead of turning from 407 and then doing that quick turn in. And that is what we will tell our parents. If they are coming from this direction, they need to go down to the light down there by Starbucks, take the light and come back up. And we can watch that traffic pattern too, because we don't want to overload that. I don't believe what we're talking about, so few kids and cars. I don't think it will be impactful either way, but I do think that's the safest method for our parents to be crossing 407 is using that street light. So absolutely, that will be impressive on our parents that are coming from the other direction and how to gain access to the public. Okay, any questions about traffic circulation?
I don't think that's a problem. Is
Gary?
Gary?
Gary's on. Gary's here.
Yes, I'm here.
Is this sufficient?
I think so. Here, from what I think I heard there, that part of the plan will be to have everybody go through the light at McMakin and come up eastbound on Jeter, which will help a lot. Although prefer not to have vehicles idling or queuing on Jeter. It's much better there than it is up on the 407 left turn lane, which would be a dangerous situation. The exhibit you're looking at with the queuing, I'll be honest with you, I don't believe that it'd be possible to get that 52 cars parked that way. I think even good valet parkers would have a hard time doing that. But even at that, you're not going to have everybody there all at one time. That's a snapshot of the 52 vehicles. And did I hear just a minute ago that the arrival time will be spread over an hour as opposed to 30 minutes?
Well, yes. So some of the students, their class begins at 8:10, and some of the students, their class begins at 8:30. So the 8 drops will probably get in there, 7:30, 7:45 to get there to be in their seats and ready to go at 8:10. And then the younger ones come a little bit later for an 8:30 start.
Okay, that'll help by spreading them out a little bit. I wanted to suggest the possibility of doing those two things, the queuing in the parking lot like is shown and entering from the right. And then the town just needs to, we'll just have to watch that. And, maybe that's an annual discussion between the town and the school to see how did it go this last year and what do we need to change to make it better this coming year. Maybe that's a summertime discussion every year, just to kind of keep up to date with how it's working with the student body load that you have.
Very good. Yes. Excellent. Excellent. Questions? You're good?
think we're gonna,
I just, going for how you want to control people that wish to turn left anyhow. I mean,
I don't know that.
Suspending their kids.
Reminded that the corrections of the
This is, both my kids went to Formdale Academy when it was at the Lantana Community Center. And at that time, there was about 200 students going there. It was not a problem.
I don't see that it's, you know, it's
Who
gonna
was
be.
speaking? I want to see if you said that. Who was speaking?
Great,
Oh, there you go. Awesome. Very good. Thank you.
Just the fact that they're getting onto Jeter as opposed, because the traffic off of, the turn lane on 407 is gonna hold very many cars.
yeah, when we were going to school there, Brook Canley, 407 was a different road. And the turn and the light wasn't there.
It's to their
None of that stuff was
And
there.
their
So
street.
It's for their benefit, the safety of their
it's
kids.
just a great plan that you guys have.
I don't see it as a big deal.
So, I should start out by saying also, I failed to mention, I feel like we're getting late in the year as we're preparing for the school. I want to let you know that we actually began the dialogue with the town in January. Started off with the conditional use permit, and then were redirected because we found out that by right, we had the ability, talking to Tammy, to have a school. So then that changed to a site plan, and then COVID happened. And that's kind of delayed us to this point. So our intention was never to take this long. You know, we thought we were trying to do due diligence starting in January, but just weren't able to. It seems like COVID has really affected all of us. So, so there's two other things left. One was the septic system that we have, and we Leslie reviewed that and told us to get a I forgot the word, a qualified registered sanitarian or an engineer to review our septic system. We had, so Tammy gave us a list of names maybe that the city, the town of Hartsville uses. And one of those was Jay Pinkston. And you'll see in your packet that we had him review all of our systems to find out what we were capable of. One of the things that we had a conversation about actually came out of that DRC meeting, and that is the timing of the days that people will use the church facility, the building. And on Sundays, we have a certain amount of people, but they're only on Sundays. And then during the week, we have a certain amount of people. He ran the numbers based on the scheduling of that, which the DRC had recommended to take a look at that. How we scheduled it would impact the way the water was used. And he came up with the idea, and you'll see his letter in there. I'm assuming it's in there. So this is the way it went.
Like a screenshot page number
Yeah.
25.
With the official seal of a registered sanitarian on it. And he says that after reviewing it and looking at current worship services are 2 times a week, I won't read the whole thing, but with 150 in attendance on Sunday and 50 on Wednesday night, using the 2 gallons per person, that is 300 gallons on Sunday and 100 on Wednesday night, and then using 12 gallons, the state standard for school, with 100 students, that comes out to 1,200 gallons. After he reviewed everything, he said that he felt it would be adequate to support, based on the schedule, what we were trying to qualify for.
So has our sanitarian,
Leslie,
have you,
The documents were sent to him, and he said he was gonna have conversations with Jay Kingston and get back with us.
okay?
Amy, my audio good?
we hear you?
Very good. If you look in the planning and zoning packet, to those of you who do not know me, I'm Leslie Freeman, town sanitarian. But if you look at P&Z packet page 85, you will see the letter that has been discussed from Mr. Jay Pinkston. I did visit with Jay this afternoon, or I talked to him on the telephone. He's been in and out of town, and he will be going out of town again. So we have a few very narrow windows of opportunity in the coming weeks to get this straightened out. He and I did discuss this further. One thing that you will see there is the 2 gallons per person in his letter. Usual and typical and customary would be 4 gallons per person. That would bring up the daily total to approximately 2,000 gallons per day. And currently on the ground out there, they have enough disposal area for 1,400, little over 1,400 gallons a day. And they'll need to increase their spray area, accommodate that capacity. It's not the end of the world, but I think they can get there. And Jay assured me that he can get there and get it done. And just to let everybody know that they'll get it straightened out and make it work.
So you're not.
So does that mean
What are we staying?
They still have some work to do.
Okay.
They're going to need to increase their disposal area. If you look at page 86, there in the packet, you will see what appears to be a water supply, a water bill. And if you just do quick math and assume that the state requirements would be 2,000 gallons a day for the school and the church services, we go on max use per day. That would be 2,000 gallons. If you take 2,000 gallons a day, multiply it by 30 days in a month, you'll end up with 60,000 gallons a month. If you look at their water bill, assuming that they're using some sprinkler systems for the irrigation in the flower beds, even with that assumption, if we look for the about 60,000 gallons a month usage, we can throw out, the 137,000 gallon month and the same for the 3,000 gallon month. But you're looking somewhere in that 57,000 gallons a month, 63,000 gallons a month, which is pretty consistent with what the state code would expect of 2,000 gallons a day being 60,000 gallons a month. So their water bill is saying, hey, that 60,000 gallons per month is about right. And that's what they're going to need to have the system capable of disposing, is that 60,000 gallons a month. So they're a little short, but with a few modifications, add a few sprinkler heads, they can get there. They just have to get that done.
My question would be, if we approve this conditional on them getting this fixed, are we talking about a couple of weeks for them to fix this, to make it work, or are we talking longer than that?
They would need to have it fixed before the school began operating.
Okay.
I don't know what their start date is, but it would need to be done before that point.
Okay, that answers my question.
Can I speak to that just a minute? Our 60,000 gallons, we're irrigating about 5 acres because of the ball fields and the usage. So our irrigation usage is not minimal. So I think it would be not correct to assume that 60,000 gallons is we're close to the amount of water in the processing on the church, especially knowing that we have 150 people plus, not doing the school or anything yet. So we're using this just quite a bit. And the 100,000 gallon month was a water leak, actually. I think that's all. Anyway, I'm just throwing that out there. I think, and obviously, like I said before, we want to do right. We want to make sure that we're following all standards. We did go through what we were asked to do and use one of the people that the town suggested that we use, who did feel like it was okay. But if it comes to this, adding some of the sprinklers and those kind of things, obviously, we want to make it right. When we're looking at permitting and all those things, we're going to be getting pretty close to getting to that point. So
We're going to have a hard time approving it without sanitation guy saying, yeah, it's okay.
no, I understand. I just am laying out there saying we're trying to do all the things and even getting approval for some of the utilities to do. But coming to this place, maybe if we could, as we try to get there by a few weeks in regards to a little bit of leverage, like you said, additional.
I'm sitting here looking at page 80. Is this kind of the plan for your sprinkler system? Or is that what's existing?
What we have now is existing,
Okay.
what you see there. So I guess understand, I'm not fighting it and saying we're not gonna do it or we don't want to do it. I'm just asking for maybe a little leeway as we try to get there and make sure that we make it happen before school starts.
So on the months, one of the questions I have for you is typically that water bill. There are some months you do not irrigate. Right?
We have, it's a small church, so I'm responsible for turning off the sprinklers. I have not turned them off.
Okay, so you keep watering for the whole year?
It watered this past winter, actually constantly that. I just forgot to go turn the sprinkler off. But you know, when I'm there, I'm running all over the place, visiting them, hospital, whatever. So that's represents sprinklers running the whole year.
So just trying to get a feel for kind of what's irrigation and what's not.
Now, I
Did you
have
fix that in September?
Look at what page was that on?
So it's page 86.
Oh, thank you. I have also, I can make available a 4-year history.
Yeah.
That represent, you can see sometimes, we're closer to between 30 and 40 when the sprinklers run.
Yeah, I think that's, again, I think the 60 is a lot based on kind of what I've seen from some other churches that are similar size. 60,000 would be a lot.
If you look at the 12,000 in September, the 137,000 was the month of the leak, and I turned the sprinklers off. They were off. So the next month, that's without sprinklers, and then we got everything fixed. And turned the sprinklers off. So. Anyway, just let you know, like I said, I'm not trying to find, it's not like we don't want to do it, I'm just, how quickly can we do it and get permitted and get sprinklers and get Leslie and Jay talking and probably, take some time. Especially dealing with septic, I know there's probably a few more hoops to jump through, just throw some things together. So, and then, I know you guys need to discuss all that. There's one last thing, that was the fire, specifically the fire code. And I had a couple of attorneys look through, trying to find the requirement in the fire code specifically for us, just to make sure, because I got it quoted $160,000 to retro sprinkler our building. And I thought that was almost passed out on that one. Obviously, being a new and fledgling school, we're just going to be struggling to make it. It's going to be difficult that first year. Of course, I do remember the fire marshal said under 100, or there could be a variance given by the council. But one of the guys doing the research was Roger here with me, Mr. Ivy, and I was going to ask him to speak to that a little bit. He was just doing some digging, trying to find where and how we can work with this sprinkler. So.
Good evening. My name is Roger Ivy, 2920 Lakeside Drive, Island Village, in Texas. Just full disclosure, I'm an attorney, but I'm also a parent, so I was trying to go to school. And I am by no means a expert on the International Fire Code of 2012, but I understand that the town's code, fire code is built on that with some exceptions. And so I had about 20 minutes before the meeting to try and get my head around it. But I looked at the code and I can't find for an existing structure, I can't find any requirement that there be a fire sprinkler system for an educational use for church or anything. There are two categories of buildings that do require existing structures that do require retrofitting. One is has something to do with some fancy types of plastics manufacturing. The other category, they call these building occupancy classifications. The other category has to do with medical facilities for folks that are not ambulatory. So I just threw together cut and paste. I don't want to be any value to you all, but I would ask y'all if your town attorney could look at that to make sure it's actually a requirement. Again, with all due respect to the folks, the fire marshal, of course, that knows this stuff very well, I'm sure, but I could not see, other than those two categories, which we are not, the existing structure would ever be required under the International Fire Code of 2012 or the Town's Code, which adopts that to retrofit sprinklers. If the town's attorney is of the opinion that that would be required, certainly the town has, in my understanding, discretion to allow for some time to get there. We're super grateful for this opportunity to put this together, but we've had quite a number of hurdles, of course, with COVID shutdowns and everything else. And so if, ultimately that's set in stone and that has to be done, if we can find a way to get some exceptions where perhaps we can have some time for funds and retrofit it. I will note as a practical matter, right now we only have 100 students. We hope to get up to 150. But I didn't see those numbers anywhere in these code sections. I think it's kind of, one of those discretionary type of considerations that folks are making. And so, we would ask first that it be confirmed, and second, if it is absolutely a requirement, that we would be allowed to go forward, understanding that down the road we would need to address that. And since I'm standing up here, and I just wanted to share briefly, if you'll entertain me, just kind of the larger vision of what we're trying to do here. And as parents between Harvest School that's out in Watauga, and parents that are all local parents, including from Bartonville and Mantan, and I'm from Highland Village, and with the church, we all have thrown in together to try and create a new model here. And the model what we're trying to do is to be able to allow local communities to stand up efficiently and in a very economical way, the opportunity to provide schooling alternatives for their children. And the model that we're working on is one that we hope can be replicated elsewhere. And starting here in Bartonville, and I know it has the name of the town on it, but starting here in Bartonville with this local church that's part of the community, one of the basic constructs of what we're trying to accomplish is to draw parents from the community in and give them the flexibility to build a school that fits their needs, that fits their economic profile, that fits what's on their heart, whether that be a STEM type school or a school that focuses on arts or agrarian or what have you, and whatever that school looks like will reflect the nature and the character of the community and will be a benefit to the community. And the idea is similar to the way churches do church plans to benefit different communities. We are trying to build a model to do school plans where the mother school, if I would call it that, the mothership, Harvest out in Watauga, has all of the support systems that we need to get off the ground quickly to make it economical for parents in this local community at a low cost to build this school to benefit their children and their families. it's worth saying, and even for y'all, because the character of Bartonville is very unique. It's worth saying that not one person involved in this anticipates we would ever want to, much less be able to look like a Liberty Christian or somehow get outside the footprint or in any way negatively impact the community. I think the entire goal here is to seamlessly integrate into existing underutilized resources and be able to minister to folks in this community in that way. So we're not here to build anything huge or massive. We're here to, like I said, come in alongside the community and fit well. And we're really working hard to pull this off in time for the fall, and we're excited about it. So we appreciate all your consideration in that way very much.
Let's open the public hearing. And then I need to read the information agreement for our staff.
Chief Lugo?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh.
Do you have a question for me?
The town just shared the summary report that you provided. Would you like to give us a brief summary of your report?
Yeah, so that summary that I provided to you is parts of the code that I was able to find in regards to this specific occupancy and the requirements of issuing a new CO for them separate from the church. That's going to be a requirement, and they could be consolidated into one CO with conditions attached to it, separate from the church if they were to operate, getting approval. So like we said at the DRC meeting, kind of like what the daycare was there before, that the reason why they had to install the fire alarm system was because the building was non-sprinkled, and having the amount of children that were going to be in there and having those exit doors on the first floor. Being that this is an older building, a two-story building, our concern as the fire department is having additional students and staff in there in the non-sprinkled building. So what you see there from the fire code, it does show that if it's less than 100 occupants in the building, it could be considered as an assembly 3 type occupancy, where they won't be required to have a sprinkler system. And that's completely fine, because I know during the DRC meeting, they said right now they only have about 75 students signed up, so that'd be below that, but we have to include the staff with the count too, for a life safety issue. Now, we could do it as a conditional permit or CO that says as long as they remain below 100 occupancy, they can operate their educational facility there without sprinklers. But time they go above 100, it's now considered a educational type occupancy, not an assembly type 3. And then they would have to be sprinkled, because our concern is the life safety, having multiple floors in this type of building with it not being sprinkled and stuff like that. So all in your packet that you have there has excerpts from the code that references those specific areas.
I don't know if you have any more questions for me. Thank you, Chief, for speaking to that. Thank you for this. We didn't know where to find these things. So,
Yes, sir. We want to open the public hearing and we can further discuss it. 8:55, we open the public hearing. And staff wants to.
No, staff just wanted to ensure that the 3 items that were covered today were discussed.
Okay. Anyone to speak in favor?
Just one more, just quick comment. I would formally request the other city attorney look at the codes, because and with all great respect for the fire marshal, I have a different legal interpretation of whether or not the international fire code is required for sprinklers only on the top. So, thank you.
Everybody else speak? Anybody on Zoom that needs to speak? Anybody can speak against? Then we'll close public hearing at 8:57. Okay. Ed, what's your input on that? Well, I guess he doesn't have the, does Ed have a copy? Did you send Ed a copy of the, Ed, what's your input on the fire marshals?
I just sent it to him.
I don't have the chief's summary of the fire code, but I will tell you that when it comes to such particular matters, I rely on the experts. So I would rely on Leslie for his input, and I would rely on Chief Lugo for his, because this is their wheelhouse, just like I would rely on Gary. And so I think we can rely on what the chief has provided to you. And I would recommend that you act in reliance on that.
I don't think we have the fire department or the sanitation okay on this yet. And I think we need that before we can go forward.
One of the things that could be helpful, at least as far as the sanitation goes, what I heard was that there's some work to be done, and then this matter would normally go to the town council for approval. And I wonder if the work could be done between now and July 21st.
Can the work be done between now and
Probably very much up to Leslie. As far as permitting and things, as he mentioned before, there's a strategy to permits and work done and checking and all those things.
I'm more concerned about the fire, the liability of going against fire code than I am sanitation, but.
You're gonna have under 100.
Right now.
Yeah, for the fire code, if they agree to stay below the 100 occupancy, that's fine on our end, because they're going to meet the A3 type occupancy where they won't have to be sprinkled, just like the daycare that was operating out of there with their fire alarm system that is monitored. So if they're able to remain below 100 occupancy, then that's fine. But the time they want to exceed past that, that's when they have to come up to code.
I have a question for you.
Yes,
This 100 is not students. This is everybody in that building. So you
Right.
said how many students you have enrolled currently? 70 what?
We're 70 was the last one.
Okay. And then with teachers and other staff, plus the use of the church, whether they're having, I don't know if you guys have Bible studies over there or what else happens. Can you stay under that 100?
My understanding was there are 2 occupancy permits, so that I didn't think the church staff qualified as part of the school. Because we're going to be 5 people maybe. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's correct. It'd be 2 separate certificate of occupancies issued for this building. So the church would be under the assembly type occupancy for their CO, and then the school would be considered an A3 type occupancy, and it'd be 2 separate classifications.
I don't understand that, Lugo.
So when the church is operating, I guess on the weekends, the school won't be in service, so they're operating under their specific certificate of occupancy. And then, say it again.
People have, the church has people there during the week as well. So we're trying to get a body count on the number of students, teachers, administrative staff.
And church
Yeah.
during the week.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, is this a common practice, taking an existing building that has been occupied and used for many years, common practice to come back, even though they have made no modifications to the building whatsoever. And they have had schools in there in the past that had more than 100 students in it. They come back and retroactively say, or not retroactively, but to say that they need to upgrade the building. I'm just kind of curious if this is normal or if this is an exception.
No, I would hope that there wasn't more than 100 students. I don't know at what point that would be on the occupancy type classification. That's where.
My daughter and son went there with Corndale Academy. And this would have been, they moved out probably 12 years ago, 15 years ago. But at that time.
Yeah, that would have been a different fire code back then, that it wouldn't have fallen under that.
I understand, but I'm just kind of curious, is this common to go back and ask a church or a school or whatever else that they have to?
Yeah, for the types of existing buildings, once it changes to a different owner or different type occupant that's in there, when it's changing the occupancy classification, depending on what it is, that's the fire code that we have to follow for that specific type of occupancy. And that's what I'm going off of on the fire code. So just like any building, the existing one, like the one that was next door to your town hall, when they changed from the water department to the other one that they're operating, their change of business, they had to change their CO and follow those current code requirements on whatever that was that they're operating as. So this is more of a life safety issue with having the amount of students and stuff, because I think they're saying the max is 150. I don't know if they're gonna ever plan on growing past that or not or anything. So it's changing classifications depending on who's operating it at what time.
In the current facility, it maxes at 150 students, I guess for the school in total, the way we have it structured. So we just wouldn't be able to operate with more than 100 with the number of classrooms.
So will you be under 100?
As of the teachers and now, as of now, yes, but we would hope that wouldn't be a restriction forever, you know, I mean, that's.
The restriction would be there until you retrofit the building.
Right.
Not forever.
Well, I know, well, $160,000 would take quite a while.
But the fire chief is saying it needs to be under 100 people in order for him to put his blessing on it.
We would definitely abide by whatever the fire chief said, if that's, or the council decides is what we.
We're going to decide to go along with them.
Right. That's what I'm trying to wrap you all together.
So, so you would be below 100 people?
If that's the requirement, then we have to use. I would ask, I talked with, Mr. Trailer at the last meeting, and he said that there's a possibility that we could have if this becomes a requirement, or if we would want to grow, maybe have a year or two to get it up to that, to the board code and standards. Only because of the amount of money we have to raise, and if we had more students, we can raise it faster. Of course, I don't expect now to have more than 100, but eventually we hope to.
Well, and just for your knowledge, having 100 students, according to Terry Kaywood, the head of schools for Harvest, is going to make it very difficult to survive.
Yeah.
If we're capped at 100 students.
I was going to ask the citizen if you would put this in the notes. This is the things for the fire code that we.
I'm just curious with the, just clarification from the fire marshal one more time. And that is, you mentioned the second story. Is there a way that they can put their sprinklers in a phased approach so that they can take away the high risk areas?
You're talking about putting it on the second floor only and not the first floor?
Right. Maybe do that, because the buildings is broke up into, if you take the gymnasium, that's a pretty big area, and there's a lot of money if you have to sprinklers in a gymnasium. Where you may be able to get into the other where you've got open attics, a lot lower cost.
Yeah, and that'd be something that we can look at. I'm willing to work with them. I'm just concerned about the life safety with the students and staff. So whatever we can do to work together and make sure we have the safety in mind and covered, then we can do that.
I appreciate that. And that's we obviously do not want to put anybody at risk. I mean, my goodness, that's going to be very important. We're just trying.
Yeah, and I don't expect, the school to be pulling out all the money to do the sprinkler system when the church is still occupying out of there with their CO. That's a tough thing when you got two separate businesses operating in the same building. That's where it makes it tricky. And I get where a current building having to sprinkle it, and I understand that part. And if we can sit down together and let's look at this, like you're saying, the high risk area where the students are going to be occupying majority of the time, we can visit that area to help out. So.
Is that something that we can get worked out before council?
Yeah, if you're okay with it, I'll have the church communicate with me and we'll sit down, see what we can put together and see where it's occupying, and I can email it to Tammy, keep her in the loop and see where we can go before council.
We'd be more than happy to do that. I mean, this is a priority for us. Like I said, we started in January, and we've got. I think if there's a place for us that we just wouldn't be able to do, and I think that'd be a shame for the church and the communities. We want to get to a place where we can make sure that we can help it work.
I guess two options: either approve it with the condition that they work it out with the fire marshal, or have them work out, or continue and us have a special meeting before city council meeting. Which would be better, Ed?
Either one of those are options. Really depends on what can be accomplished in the next couple of weeks before the town council. So we're right on the 1st. Town council's on the 21st. So if there's a belief that some things can be discussed and worked out in the next couple of weeks, then you can postpone it to whenever you believe would be a good time before town council to forward it.
So what do you think?
And unfortunately, I've served many years on small school boards. They are so against the wall right now. Be ready for school. So anything we can, if we are supportive of what they're doing, anything we can do to expedite it, I think is imperative. They've got a great intent to work with the fire marshal and get through kind of plans on that stuff. But they don't have over 100 right now anyways. So I think that there's limitations already defined.
Well, I think they're going to need to work with the fire marshal because, from what I understand, they do want to be at 100,
right,
in order to be functional and profitable.
Are you saying 100 students, not including the staff and all that?
Well,
The way I understand it, we're capped at 100 occupancy for the permitted use in regards to the school. So yes, that would include staff and students. That's the way I understood the chief.
Yeah, it's correct. It's 100 occupants.
Even with 2 occupants happening at the same time, I'm sorry, I'm having a real hard time with this. Because one minute I think it's, since these are separate things, that if you have 25 to 30 people on under the CO for the church, at the same time you have 100 people over here under the CO for the school, but it's happening at the same time, then does that not?
It's just a church calendar issue.
Yeah, and honestly, that's something that I didn't think about and something that I'll have to look into to get you a true answer, because just my thinking without doing some further research and talking to some other neighboring sources, I would personally think with the two different COs that the church can have their staff and it's not going to be counted against the school's total occupant load because it's two separate occupancies, but they're in the same building. So that's what I need to get further clarification on to get you a true answer on that, because I'm not sure.
Thank you.
Okay, sounds to me like we need to have a special meeting before the council meeting, because I don't really want to send this to council that much
Yeah.
up in the air.
I don't either. That and septic both have to be settled to the point where when they're ready to open, all of this stuff is handled to everybody's satisfaction and for the protection of the liability of the town.
Well, we have a, we want to do whatever we can. So the chief, I mean, this is so.
You're gonna need to get with them. We will, do we want to set a date? Or can we just?
My recommendation would be to set a date certain.
For enough time for us to make a decision before the council meeting.
The council packet has to go out, December, or
I think you both do.
Three meetings back to back. And then I'm even looking at July, so I wish it was December. July 17th, so you could do it, July 15th. 2 weeks from tonight. So,
Do we have to do it on, because we do it Tuesday?
Tuesday.
It's on-
yeah, Tuesday, July 14th. Oh, wait,
I'll make it.
we have a council.
That's true. I'm out of town.
When do you come back?
The 19th, but I'm not leaving. If we absolutely have to do it on the 15th,
16th?
no, I'm not. We could do it if.
We can do it earlier too.
We can keep it at 14th.
You can do it earlier in the day.
Do the 14th.
That'd be good.
Somebody said no on the 14th.
I didn't say no.
Okay, we have a budget work session at 7 o'clock. So if we do it earlier in the day on 14th,
To do it 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I just said, if we've been able to get everything together, our ducks are well, it shouldn't be.
Yeah, if you go ahead and get it, then all we need is for them to say, yeah, we're okay, and it will take very long.
So your motion's going to be to continue this, right, Ed?
Yes, you need to move to postpone it to the date and time.
Okay. Can we do 6:30 instead of 6? No, I've got, unless you agree, I'm ready to.
Enroll as if you
Yeah, there you are.
Oh, we have a council meeting at 7.
Oh, yeah, they're really bad.
That's another.
So what about the 14th? Then we don't have to worry about anything.
That's what we're talking about.
Oh, sorry.
But or do the 13th, I mean, if you're ready at 14th, you should.
If you really have to do it at 6, I might be late.
Shift it to the 15th and I'll.
Well, the 15th is hard.
Unless we do it early, 7 o'clock is,
No, we can do it earlier.
then 5, and I'm gonna do this.
6 p.m.
6 p.m. on the,
Or is that
6 p.m. on.
5 really?
6:30 is whenever I'm typically, matter of fact, we're doing Zoom prayer meetings at 6:30. But like I said, for this, if we can do 5:30,
The 13th. Monday the 13th? No.
Well, the 13th is fine, it just, if we're doing, have doing work on the 13th. As far as work days.
Yes.
So the 13th at 7 or 6?
13th, 6 o'clock.
Done. Yeah.
Need a motion.
I make a motion that we have a special session for P and Z on July 13th at 6 p.m. to discuss item number 5.
You're gonna postpone this item to discussion.
I'm gonna postpone it, you got it. You got it.
We need to postpone this item to a special meeting on July 13th at 6 p.m. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Eric? Yeah.
There's all that.
Very quiet.
Okay, so you guys can get with the church and see if we can get things all worked out. No pressure.
There you go. All right.
Thank you guys for the consideration.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'll email a copy of this to Ludo, and then you guys will have all each other's emails, you guys can get together. July 13th at 6 p.m. That's a Monday.
And clarify.
Not December.
Anything else, then we're adjourned.
I have no idea.
One. What?
My husband wants to be more.
See you in 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Sure.
We're adjourned.
At what time? 9.
See y'all later.
Thank you.
You all, man.
Thank you.